we do a level 9 poison ball. Then that's 90 points. So we have 10 plus 90 is 100. So that one hit should be able to kill him. It just will take a little while for the poison to take effect. Okay, he actually hit us too, but I won't have to hit him any more times, and that poison, level 9 poison, should take care of him, and he will be done for. There we go. So he died mostly from the poison damage, only 10 points of a direct hit damage. Okay, we're going to learn how to do that today, and by that I mean welcome back to LewyT Amusement Academy Part 30, the Poison Ball skill. We're going to turn our regular slime ball into a poisoning projectile. So let's go ahead and get to my favorite part, the code. Okay, we want to go to the scripts, and we're going to create a new mono behavior script, and it's going to be called PoisonEffect. And we'll go ahead and look at some other scripts first. Okay, we're going to start with player character. It has the least number of changes. There's a new integer called poison ball level. This is similar to the splash level. I probably should have used an integer for splash level too. Also, there in the onPrimary fire method, we set the damage projectiles poison ball level equal to poison ball level. So not only is it here, but it's also going to be in damage projectile. And the last change is the upgrade poison ball, which works just like the other upgrade buttons, just increases that level. Okay, I think the next thing we need to look at is the PoisonEffect script. This is the brand new script that I made just for this purpose. It has just a few typical using statements. Is mono behavior. We're just calling it PoisonEffect. This is the script that is attached to the object that is a child of a character. So basically, there'll be an empty object, empty game object that has this script attached to it that will become attached to any character that is being poisoned. So it's a separate object that does the poisoning, and then whenever it's done, it destroys itself. So we've got a few public properties at the top. Damage per tick, and that's by default 1. Tick interval 1, and that's in seconds. Maybe we'll put a little comment here. In seconds. So every 1 second, it does 1 damage. And then total number of ticks is 10. So after it's done that 10 times, it's done, and then it destroys itself. So ticks remaining is 0 when it's done. Well, whenever we create one of these, we'll set it equal to total ticks. And then there's a target character. So the character script of the parent object is the one that's getting damaged. So we just need a reference to the character that's going to be receiving the damage, because it's the character script that handles damage and health. We also have a poison color. So the type is color, and we're just calling it poison color, and we're giving it a default value of green. If you want, you can pick a different color. Because this is a serialized field, it will show up in the inspector, and you can change it. Green is just the default at the script level, but you can override that in the inspector. And then we have original colors. So whenever a character is poisoned, they're going to turn green, but only during the duration of the poison. So when the poison is over, it will reset back to the original colors. So we need to store those original colors, and this is the variable we'll use to do that. It is a dictionary where the key is renderer. That's another type, and the value is color. Since we haven't covered renderers yet, a renderer defines how an object is displayed on the screen. Our characters use a mesh renderer, which takes a 3D mesh and draws it in the game world. It also controls the object's material, which is what allows us to change its color. So in our start method, we set the target character by getComponent in parent. We're just going to look for the character component in the parent of this object. We'll have an array of renderers, and it's just going to be called renderers, and we're going to use the target character getComponents in children renderer. And so what this does is it gets all of the renderer components of the target character, and that includes the character itself, the object that it's on, and then any of the child objects of that character object. So you might have a complex object where you have, a character and then maybe the character's holding a sword, or they've got different clothing items that are separate objects. I don't know. There's just lots of ways a character could have multiple objects that are visible, and you want them all to turn green. I mean, that's the idea here. And maybe you don't. So you could change that if you don't want everything to turn green. But you don't necessarily know when you're starting out, like when you first apply poison, whether the top level object even has a visible renderer. Maybe the main object is actually a child of the top level character object. So that's just something to keep in mind. So that's why we just go ahead and apply the green color to everything. So anyway, we're getting all those renderers, and it's an array, and then we're for eaching through that array. We're going to set each one, we're going to call it rend, and we're going to set the original colors, and using that rend as a key, setting the value to that renderer's material.color. So that way we're storing it, what the original color is, and then we're going to set it to green. So we're rend.material.color equals poison color. And then we're going to set the ticks remaining to total ticks. So that's where we do that. And then we start the coroutine, which is poison over time. And that's the very next method. So we'll go ahead and look at that. And the main thing it does is it has a while loop. It says as long as ticks remainings is greater than 0, so it starts off at 10, then we're going to go ahead and reduce it by 1. So minus is just a shorthand of saying ticks remaining equals ticks remaining minus 1. And then this yield return is what we do in a coroutine. When we yield return, we can make it wait for however long the tick interval is. So the tick interval is 1 second. So basically it'll do its thing, wait for 1 second, and then continue. And the thing it does after 1 second is, first it's just going to check that we have a target character, which we should, but then we're going to damage that target character. The amount of damage as the damage per tick variable is, and right now that's set as 1. So if you had a stronger poison, it would damage more. Anyway, as it goes through that while loop, every iteration of the loop, it reduces the number of ticks remaining to 1, waits for 1 second, does the damage, and starts over. But whenever that ticks remaining gets to 0, when it's no longer greater than 0, then we're done with the while loop, and then we're going to destroy this object. And this is the poisoning object, the poison effect object. And then when we do that, when we do destroy this object, we can, this is a special Unity method that runs automatically. Whenever you destroy something, the Unity will run the OnDestroy if it has one, and it's going to for each through all of these original colors, calling each one just entry. So each of these original colors, it's going to check the key if there is a key. So the key is the renderer, and each renderer has a material, and each material has a color. We're going to set that back to the entry.value, that's just the way we've saved those original colors. Each is a renderer and a color. So when we're done, we go through all of those, it will have set everything back to the normal colors that it had. Okay, the next thing is the damage projectile script. Remember, this is the script that goes on the slime ball as it's flying through the air. It goes and it hits and it does damage. And last episode we did the splash effect, so it also it may or may not do splash damage. But we're adding a couple new things besides some using statements. We're adding this game object additional effect, and so this is the poison effect, but I just called it additional effect in case we come up with some other kind of effect a damage projectile might do. And it's up to you if you want to call it just poison effect. That would make sense. And there's also, we're keeping track of the poison ball level. Now, the poison ball level lives on the player character, but we want the ball as it's flying through the air to also know what level of poison it has. So we're just going to pass the poison ball level into this damage projectile when it's created. So, we already did that in player character. Right here it says when we fire a slime ball, we set the poison ball level equal to poison ball level. Okay, and then back in here, damage projectile on trigger enter. This is when the slime ball hits something. I'm going to scoot this over so we can see as much as we can. It's going to have a list of characters. This is actually, I'm making a few changes here that help with the splash damage. I discovered an issue while I was working on the poison effect that the splash damage, it was detecting things like detection sphere, the trigger colliders. And so I also fixed that. But this will just keep a list of whenever something is doing damage and it's figuring out all the characters that it needs to damage, it's going to add to this list. And so here's what we do when we have the main character that is damaged. We add that character to the characters damaged. And when we do the overlap sphere for the splash effect, we're also checking all layers, but the main reason we do this is so that we can ignore the triggers. So query trigger interaction dot ignore allows us so that the overlap sphere does not pick up on triggers, such as the detection sphere of our enemy monster character. Okay. And then if characters damage dot contains splash characters, though we're inside the splash effect. So once we've added it, we're going to say we don't want to damage that character again just because it's already damaged. It's already going to be in that character's damaged. Previously, all we were doing was just saying if the splash character is not equal to the character that we damaged earlier, we would continue. Now we're just checking the whether it's already exists inside the characters damaged list. And that way we don't just have to compare equal directly, because it might be another of the splash characters that gets added twice, if a character has more than one collider, for instance. So then in our splash damage effect here, we are also adding the splash character to the character's damage so that the next iteration of the loop, if that character is already in the list, it won't do damage to it again. However, this character's damaged list will contain all of the splash effect characters, and also the main, if you had a direct hit on a character, all of those characters will be in that list, and now we can use it for also the poisoning effect. So for the poison stuff, we need to make sure that the poison ball level is greater than 0, otherwise it's not a poison ball, it's just a slime ball. And we want to make sure the additional effect is not null, because that is where the poison object lives. We're going to create some variables, the poison game object and the poison effect. So now we're going to for loop through all of the characters damaged. Even if they get just a little bit of splash damage, they're added to this list and they can also receive poison. So the poison effect is going to be equal to the poison character get components in children. So this is checking to see if the character already has a poison effect. So we're just trying to set it equal to that. If the poison effect is null, that means that the poison has not been added already. This is the first time, or any previous poison has expired. So we're going to instantiate a poison. So we're going to take that additional effect, which is just a game object. We're going to instantiate it because it's a prefab. And we're going to put its parent as the poison character. So that's just whichever character we're looking at right now that's receiving poison. And so that will be our poison object. And then we're going to set the transform position equal to 0. So it'll be centered on its parent. And then we're going to set the poison effect equal to the poison.getComponent poison effect. So this is the actual poison effect script for this particular poison. And then these three things only are done if there wasn't already a poison. So we're going to add the poison to the character. But then these two things happen even if the poison was already there. We're going to set the damage per tick to the new poison ball level. And we're going to set the number of ticks remaining to the total ticks. And so basically, even if there was a poison that was already there and it was almost ready to expire, it'll just get reset to its maximum number of ticks. And in case it's a different level of poison, it will be reset to the poison ball level. And it's very unlikely for that value to ever go down. So if, let's say, you shot an enemy with a level 1 poison ball, and then in the next few seconds, you upgraded your poison ball level and then shot them again before the first poison expired, that poison ball level, the first poison is like 1 damage per second, and the next level will be 2 damage per second. So instead of adding an additional poison effect, it just resets the existing poison to the 2 per second, and then resetting the time to the total ticks. And that's it. That's all the scripting changes. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is we need to add an object to the game, and this is going to be an empty. We just right click on the hierarchy, click create empty. As you can see, it's an empty. It has a transform, but nothing else. And we can go ahead and name it PoisonEffect. Okay. And then we're going to add the component PoisonEffect. And then all we need to do is we need to put it in our project. So I'm going to go to the damagers folder and drag it in here. You could also put it in the effects folder, but I really intended the effects folder to be like visual effects. So the poison effect can be in here or really anywhere in the project that you want. I just think this is the best place for organizational purposes. So now we have this poison effect in the project. We can delete it out of the hierarchy, still in the project. And the next thing, we need to go find the slime projectile, which, oh, look, it just happens to be in this place already. Let's see, which one of these is the real slime projectile? Oh, yes. This one is a slime projectile. We can open up this. This is the slime ball that shoots whenever we click, and it has, a bunch of other components, but it has the damage projectile component, and this damage projectile has an additional effect that's empty right now. So we're going to drag in PoisonEffect into additional effect. Okay, that's that. Okay, the next thing we need to do is go to our player character in the hierarchy. We're going to open it up and go to the skill tree, and then we're looking for our poison ball skill. We're going to click on that, and we need to add our skill up action. So we're going to add to that. We're going to drag our player character into the object slot. And then in our function, we can go find the player character script and upgrade poison ball. So that way, whenever we click the little plus button on our poison ball skill, it upgrades the poison ball skill on the character. Okay, the next thing I want to do is build. And this is just so that we know that what we've done will work in a build program. So I go ahead and build. And we have to select the folder, and here we go. We'll see you later when this is done. Okay, the build is done, and we're just going to run it here, and we'll see how it goes. So here's our slime game, start game, and we're in the island volcano scene. We're going to go get as many of these as possible. I think we're far enough away, he doesn't see us. So I'm going to get some sprint so that I can get away from him if I need to. I'm going to do a level 1 slime ball and a level 1 poison ball. So level 1 slime ball does 10 points of damage per hit, and a level 1 poison ball does 1 point of damage per second for 10 seconds. So that's another 10 damage. So if I just hit him once, he would eventually have 20 damage. As you can see, he's green. He's got the green poison effect. We're just going to let it expire so that we can see him go back to normal. There he is. The 10 seconds is done. He's back to normal. And that's 20 points of damage on the health bar. I'm going to go ahead and hit him a few more times. Each time I hit him, even if he's already poisoned, it doesn't add additional poison. It just extends how long the poison lasts. And if I were to upgrade, which I don't think I can do it fast enough, but I could increase the damage per second. But we're going to try something else. Okay, so it still takes several hits to kill him because the poison level is pretty low. So I'm going to go and increase the poison level. So if with slime ball level 1, that's 10 points of damage per hit. And if we were to do the next, so he's got 100 health, and if we do a level 9 poison ball, then That's 90 points. So we have 10 plus 90 is 100. So that one hit should be able to kill him. It just will take a little while for the poison to take effect. Okay, he actually hit us too, but I won't have to hit him any more times, and that poison, level 9 poison, should take care of him, and he will be done for. There we go. So he died mostly from the poison damage, only 10 points of a direct hit damage. And I also want to demonstrate that the splash skill works the same way. Even if you get the splash damage, it is, you can still be poisoned. So we're going to hit, oh, he was too far away. Let me get over here. There, he hit the ground, but he received splash damage. Now, because it was a splash only, not a direct hit, may not be enough to kill him from the poison alone. So he's got a little bit of health left after the poison wore off. So I'll have to hit him one more time. There we go. And that is our poison ball skill in action. Okay, thank you for watching LewyT Amusement Academy Part 30. You can grab the source code in the GitHub just linked below, and if you have questions, drop a comment or join our Discord community to chat. If you learned something today, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share the love with your friends, frenemies, enemies, and even your nemesis. Next time we're going to come back down to the lab and learn how to create digital life. Part 31 is wide open, so comment right now and tell me which of these features you want to build next. If I don't hear from you right away, I will go ahead and pick something myself, but feel free to comment anytime and I will try to work your ideas into my next video.